Mr. Fantastic. Either you love him, or your name is Namor, Doctor Doom, or NetEase. But all jokes aside, Mr. Fantastic has to be my favorite character in Marvel Rivals. The game feel? Immaculate. The skins? Pretty damn good. The beard? Mwah. Beautiful. He is, however, completely awful competitively. But that just raises the question, how did we get here? And why? At this point, it should be no surprise to anyone that Mr. Fantastic is a vanguard in duelist clothing. However, unlike the jack-of-all-trades master of none, Mr. Fantastic is not better than a master of one. So, let's talk about the issues as a duelist first.
So yeah, you take 4.4 seconds to kill normally, right?
Well, I mean, let's test that theory then, right?
Oh my gosh, it takes 5 punches? That's 5.5 then.
Mr. Fantastic is classified as a duelist. So, how much damage can he really do?
Mr. Fantastic. Stretched punch. Oh my gosh, it only does 60. 60 times 4 is 240. Oh my gosh. I thought this character was better.
So, doing 60 damage every 1.1 seconds is definitely a choice. But hey, at least it hits multiple people. Something definitely unique to Mr. Fantastic, right? Okay, there's their explosions. They don't count. But surely, the character whose melee is also their primary can go through shields, right?
Yeah, all other melees go through this. It uses your melee button, why doesn't it go through?
Yeah. This is me pressing the melee button. Either way, that's just half the character. We've got a whole second mode, which jumps our damage up to 75 per hit, and hits every 0.92 seconds. So, hey, upgrades. Which drops our time to kill from 5.5 seconds to 3.68. So while it's undeniably better than base, and keep in mind, we're only talking about damage here. We'll talk about the health later. But why would you do that over this?
And let him go. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Now, obviously, those are just extreme examples, right? Surely, a Vanguard doesn't have a faster time to kill with only its primary. I mean, look, I could keep this bit going forever, but now let's just talk about his abilities. Again, as a damage source. We'll get to the health later. So, Mr. Fantastic has 2 damaging abilities. His E, Flexible Elongation, and his right click, Distended Grip. Flexible Elongation deals 30 damage in a hit, and can hit multiple targets, but they have to be really close together. I've also noticed sometimes it hits the same person twice, which is probably a bug, and even compounds upon an issue that I will bring up in a moment. Look at that, the shield that I generated instantly disintegrated. So when used on offense, the E's main purpose is to get closer to the opponent, to chase them down, to stay within your effective range. Then they added knockback to it, to help your opponent get away. Its second, and arguably more important use, was to get out of danger by grabbing an ally. They also added 2 seconds to its cooldown, so you had less opportunity to interact with your opponent and to get out safely with your limited range character. However, Rivals did do something nice for Mr. Fantastic. They buffed the hitbox of the attack. So now it shouldn't miss at point blank range. Right? Oh! Oh.
Wait, what? That knocks me to the ground? Wait, I think I found it. Hang on, Emi. It forces me to the ground! That's what it's for!
Yeah, if you ever fly close enough.
Work to be done.
All you have to do is be above me, and it can't hit.
That's
This
gonna
is
go
with a
into
double
video.
range increase.
I'm just...
Another fun fact, even if you do get hit by the E's hitbox as a flyer, you just hold space and you fall at least half the distance. So, if he doesn't miss you entirely, you'll mitigate the effects of the knockback anyway. That was the silver lining. and it's mitigated by holding spacebar on reaction to being grabbed and hit. And this change, I'm sure, was intended to be a buff, but we got like 7 different negatives in return for one niche case use buff, where we can knock them towards our team if we somehow get behind them and they don't have like a Groot wall up, or other thing, or Hulk shield, or mag bubble, or any form of CC. But that's enough about flexible elongation for now. We'll come back to it in the tank section. But for now, let's talk about Distended Grip. Distended Grip is Mr. Fantastic's single highest damaging ability, dealing anywhere from 70 to 100 damage. Though technically the lowest is 20. I will talk about how and why that happens. So Distended Grip starts from the initial hit, which deals 20 damage, and even applies a mild slow to the target. It's not listed anywhere, but it does it. And from there you have several follow-up options. You can left-click to grab either the same target or a new target, or you can hit E and pull yourself in, which uses a charge of your E and puts it on cooldown, but it does let you build 60 of your elasticity meter, slightly quicker than you would otherwise. But, except for a few niche case uses, it is just objectively worse of an option, as you can bring them closer by pulling them in, and not have your E be on cooldown, to then follow up with your own approach. You lose damage, dealing 30 instead of the 50 you would on a single target, with the only real benefits being you gaining the 75 shield and getting elasticity slightly faster than you would otherwise. A niche tool, but good that it exists. And here's where I explain how you get the 20 damage, and all the issues with the ability. So despite being Mr. Fantastic's best control tool, and best damaging special, it is full of weaknesses, counterplay, and just general jank that I believe is best shown instead of told. So, take a look.
Your list of bullshit damage.
Double the failure.
Alright, now drop the shield. Now put it back up.
Hello there.
That's wild. That's why.
Not so fast, friend. We've been discovered.
So this second arm is a projectile. I have to aim and hit someone.
Well, hello there. Not so fast.
No.
Trouble has arrived.
Your list of bullshit damage.
Double the failure. I've impressed myself. Not so fast, friend.
Now, that's just a short list of the most important problems with the move, but it is still a very important part of his kit. He needs it. It could just be better, or less janky. And as I'll show later, it's not the only core part of his kit that just doesn't mesh well with the rest of it in practice, or quite simply just gets outclassed in every single category. But enough of talking about the duelist side. I've already talked about how that's basically a front anyway. It's all a lie. Let's talk about the most important part of his kit. His survivability, or his pseudo-Vanguard identity. Mr. Fantastic's most important abilities for tanking are his passive, Elastic Strength, his E, Flexible Elongation, and his Shift, Reflexive Rubber. So let's start with the E so we can finish that section off quickly. On activation, Flexible Elongation gives Mr. Fantastic 75 shield, and even gives allies shield. However, recent changes may or may not have reduced its effectiveness. But putting purely numbers aside, I would like to show another way the nerf shot his survivability in the foot.
Taking the arm.
Oh, it's the combat.
It's
Oh.
alright, I'm just thinking.
Wait, I killed the storm! Now, did I make a mistake there? Yes. But also, for someone whose primary escape is his E onto a teammate, 2 extra seconds really hurts. even if you play better than me fumbling keys on a keyboard. So now with reduced access to his best escape tool, and reduction to his effective health, his survivability has gone down a lot, which is supposed to be a core part of his identity. But that links nicely into his passive, which has big numbers and big weaknesses. However, I should start off by saying his passive does, frankly, give him an absurd amount of health for a duelist, on top of his high base health. It does, of course, have its fair share of issues, but it is a very good tool and very easy to overtune. So I understand being careful around balancing it. But I want to start off talking about the positives. Usually I delve into the negatives too quickly. So when combining with Flexible Elongation's bonus health, you can get up to 950 health. That is an insane amount. And our damage even goes up by 15 whole points. And that's where the positives end, because nothing good comes without several costs with Mr. Fantastic. I don't know if you noticed the asterisk in the total health earlier, but I'm going to talk about it now. And it's because 600 of that 950 health is non-recoverable health, meaning that it can't be healed. The only part of your health that can be healed is the final 350, your base health. Which means that even in your tankiest form, you are still liable to be shredded at any moment. You are also immobile for the duration of transforming, during it, and de-transforming, making you extra vulnerable to CC, or just being hit in general. And on offense, you have reduced reach. Your attacks don't reach as far, even if they now deal a good amount of damage. Maybe not enough to 3-shot 250 health characters yet, but it's better. I've also found a few situations where transforming locks me out of my ultimate for like 1 second, which means I don't get to take full use of that extra bonus health during the ultimate, which is a little weird to me considering if you click ultimate just slightly too early, you get nothing because it cancels the transformation. You can't use abilities for the duration of the transformation, which again makes you vulnerable to CC, immobile, etc., etc. But what having no abilities also does is that it breaks your team up ability with Invisible Woman. You know, the one that says it gives you damage resistance, but it doesn't, because translation issues, they happen, but instead gives you a regenerating shield based on missing health. And I have a working theory as to why it does this. It's simply that the second shield takes damage first, and because you can't use the team up ability while in the big mode, you get big mode shield second, which means the regenerating shield is being protected. It doesn't take damage and therefore can't regenerate. And this one's more a nitpick, but I wish his de-transform passive shield got the same treatment as the Storm ult, where it has like a second before it starts decaying, whereas instead of its instant decay the moment you hit cancel. Just something I'd rather he have. And now the final defensive ability, the shift. And I don't really have a single negative thing to say about it. It is, frankly, absurdly strong. Currently, in my opinion, it is the only objectively good thing about his kit, with maybe a singular downside, singular small downside, and that being that the counterattack hitbox is very small. But other than that, quite frankly, it's an amazing ability. Completely CC immune, burst damage just disintegrates. The ending animation is still fully immune, so it's an incredible ability all around. No notes. So while Mr. Fantastic definitely has really good points to his tankiness, he also has so many flaws, conditions, and very easy and obvious counterplay to them that you're better off picking anyone else. And now, I'd like to move on to the final ability, the ultimate. Highly regarded as one of the worst ultimates in the game, it did get a buff, and it is, in fact, significantly better than its old iteration. So NetEase, please tell me why you nerfed its cost more than the meta support ultimates, without fixing any of the issues inherent in the ability, such as being vulnerable when he lands, he's stuck there for a long time. Long enough for, in my experience, people to react and shoot you. So all they have to do is wait for you to land each time, and then deal about as much damage as you dealt to them, if not more, for free. Or they can just mag or strain shield or Hulk shield, which doesn't count as a hit. If you hit a shield, it counts for nothing, which stops you from resetting the bounces. But that's after you've used the ult. If you want to have any sort of survivability during the ult, you need to wait for your passive to be full, and you need to wait for it to transform. And then the sometimes 1 second delay where your ult is locked out. You have to wait for several conditions to use your ult, rather than, say, a strange ult where you just need to be in the right position. With Mr. Fantastic, you need to build up to your ult. So this video's taken a little bit to script, to record, and there have been more things that I've found along the way, or I just didn't know where to put them. So I'm going to talk about them. Starting off with his primary. It deals negligible damage to structures, like Penny Nest, or more importantly, Loki runes, to the point where you need to hit them several times with such a slow attack rate that you're better off ignoring them completely. But you can't do that, because that's how you die. That's how they win. But it's not like your primary's doing anything to them. And damaging them with the swing, you know how you can swing the primary around to hit several people? I've found it very inconsistent or impossible. I'll need to keep testing it, but it either can't be damaged by that continued swing, or it is very, very hard to. So much harder than it needs to be. And this one's kind of a general Marvel Rivals issue, but, you know, you get the hit sound effect when it doesn't actually deal damage. Happens a lot with Mr. Fantastic. Get used to it. And most important, most recently, as of recording this, at this present time, there has been another balance update change. An emergency balance update, one might call it. For some rebalancing and trying to promote diverse team comps with fresh new character picks. Which is why they only changed 3 of the most popular characters. And even buffing the underperforming Johnny Storm. Hooray! I should also bring up that this is also an indirect nerf to Mr. Fantastic, making burst healing better, and 2 flyers stronger. Ouch! But look, I do have to give NetEase one thing. This makes a lot of sense canonically. I mean, of course, Doctor Doom would pick the weakest Mr. Fantastic variant he possibly can, and just put him on the team to humiliate him. Of course he would. Canonically, this just makes sense. And final point before we make it to the scripted ending of this, I do find it absolutely mind-boggling. Funny and also incredibly mind-boggling that you would add knockback to Mr. Fantastic, and then immediately add the Thing, who is knockback immune. And I would also like to bring up that you added the Thing, who is just better Mr. Fantastic in every conceivable way. He has more damage, more health, better crowd control, better movement, better synergy. Literally everything about him is better. You added Mr. Fantastic last patch to make him irrelevant with the addition of the Thing. And I want to talk about what I think the intention behind the design was of the Fantastic Four as a group. The Thing was supposed to be the vanguard. The Human Torch is the duelist. Invisible Woman is the support. You've got a nice rounded trio right there. Mr. Fantastic is the stretchy glue, tape, whatever, that holds them all together. He's supposed to bridge the gap and be a little bit of all of them. Bring the team and the family together. But he isn't. And he also just does everything worse. But look, I've complained for almost 20 minutes now. How do we fix this? What is he missing that is keeping him from being viable? And the answer is very, very simple. Very small changes are required to at least make him feel okay to play. If you don't want him to be viable, because you think it's a degenerate strategy inherent in his kit. Fair enough. He doesn't need to be top tier, but he needs to feel good to play. Right now, he is not that at all. I'll start off with small changes that would make him good, or at least playable. Give him 5 damage on his primary. Just 5. Make him be able to 4-shot the squishiest characters in the game. And it'll save me a whole second when I'm diving the backline or attacking a support, assuming they don't get healed once. Reduce the startup and end of his transition between big and small by like half or something. Now, don't do that if you just buff it in general, by, for example, having the shield decay later. But if you want to keep the mode as is, just do that. It makes a world of difference. So, for the E, 2 options here. Either keep the plus 2 second cooldown that you have, but give the knockback hard CC associated, like Bucky Hook, so that way they can't directionally influence themselves or attack you while you're getting closer. Or remove the 2 second cooldown and maybe increase the shielding or damage? Maybe? Or just remove the 2 second cooldown, please. And maybe the knockback too. Actually, no, just combine those buffs and he's fine. Oh my gosh. He needs something to deal with flyers. And that's the only thing the knockback really kind of does that isn't an active detriment. Oh wait, no, for the E, fix his hitbox. It's still broken. Do all that and he'll be good, he'll be viable, and he'll be fun. Unless meta significantly changes, he won't be top tier. Be incredibly strong, and probably your worst nightmare in bronze. But I don't know, man. Just give him like a 5 to his damage, a 5 to his shielding. Just give him like 5s. 5 points in literally any category, in all categories. He's right there, except he's just missing the tiniest little pieces that combine together to make him miss like half his kit. It's like you took a bite out of each puzzle piece when you were forming it, and then you wonder why it doesn't form a full character. Because you ate half of it. You know those little knobs? Those help complete the picture. Anyway, in closing, kick Dr. Doom and Namor off the balance team. They've been here long enough. Get rid of them. I'm sick and tired of them.